my management team members are really the only people that I associate with, like more intimately. But I've noticed a change in all of them. More in a good way, like, you know, they have a certain level of peace, and it's really nice to see that. For whatever reason, I don't know. Julia says that it's our vibrations that are having an impact on others.
Right.
And I can see how that's the case. I don't want to necessarily say, well, I'm walking around all zenned out at work and everyone's like screaming and yelling and playing rap music and whatever and this and that. And I'm just like,
oh, yeah.
But like even my direct manager, he opened up and was talking to me for a good 30 minutes before our shift, just personally communicating with me, which was new. And another manager had opened up about some of the experiences that he's endeavoring on. You know, all these, it seems like there's a kind of like a flow of happiness that's starting to overtake the people that I most directly interact with.
Right.
Which I find is pretty, from like, if I take myself out of the equation and I look at it from like a third person perspective, it's interesting how that, you know, you say you impact other people, whether it be negative or positively, but when you make these changes to live a peaceful life and a happy life, you lead others to, you inspire others. And it seems like that's genuinely happening with everybody that I choose to surround myself with. I mean, you know, they're all work people, you know, they're just my bosses, but I want to do more for the people that have helped me get to where I'm at work. Just to show appreciation, you know, like my direct manager has expressed gratitude to me, where I express gratitude to him. My boss that is now taking the role of the president of our department.
Right.
He came up to me and went out of his way to shake my hand, which I know that he doesn't do with everybody. Because a lot of people are so consumed with greed, and he's like, he told me, he's like, I'm just here to help other people be the best that they can be at work.
Right.
He's like, I don't care about he's well off. He doesn't work because his family needs the money. He's like, I just want to help you guys be successful. Express. It's nice to see that we're having a positive impact in others' lives now. You know, I never saw that before. A whole life. Never saw that. I think people get more frustrated, more angry. It's like, okay, so it goes both ways.
Yeah, it's a very rewarding thing, and we don't really notice it because we're so, number one, we're so into our problems. And then the other thing is that when the reports does come, or when you see a shift in energy in the room with the people that you're with, you realize something is happening, something good is happening here, you know, and you just keep it going, and you see the reinforcement, the positive reinforcement, because of buying through your own study and practice. No doubt, if you perfect this practice, you can quit your job and have your own, you know, private practice in helping CEOs deal with it, because you have everything that you're doing in the company. You're collecting data. You're collecting data of how you're being treated, how corporations, you know, just everything about systems, and how you can bring that knowledge to the next working sector of business in organizational management and, you know, MBA programs and stuff like that. So, like I said, it's all impactful, and it is all educational. Just, you know, what led up to me teaching the way that I am is because I went through some of these companies and some of these, directors, CEOs, and stuff like that, and it was just horrific. It was money over people, not it was profit over people, and not the total opposite. And that's why no wonder when I had my own company that all of my employees were well paid. 1/3 of what the company makes, they walk with cash every day. Every day, I made sure that they not have to buy weekly. I didn't make sure. Nope, no, it's gonna be different when Chidao does this, and it's no wonder why they continue to follow me to wherever I go to be loved. Missed when you're gone and love where you are, and not a lot of CEOs do that. They treat people like robots and numbers and animals. That's no way to live. I mean, bitter over what, a couple of dollars so you can go to the strip club. That's what they do. That's what they do. I know exactly. You know what I mean? And it's rare to find one that people. I mean, when people see the genuine investment of you really thinking about their well-being, they will stick with you no matter what. Just the amount of loyalty and employee retention in the long term will save you so much money in the company. And not a lot of CEOs understand that. And matter of fact, now from the top down, we're not going to say some local chain stores around here, but my students, worked for these chain stores, and they said, they treat us like crap. They don't listen to us. And they don't. So from the top down, they said, we're going to pay them $15 an hour. Use them for what they can be used for. Maximize output. Make sure they stock the shelves. Make sure they're exhausted. Don't listen to nothing. Don't give days off. Call them in randomly. Keep them busy. This is the new generation that we have to control without knowing how to run, without understanding the individualist complexity of the employee in modern days. So that right there is a dissertation alone. And they think they got it from the top down. You don't. And the fact that my students quit at alarming rates, that means they're paying for it. Every time we have to retrain and train, all that time, energy, and resources to train new people, you're paying for it. So in essence, the CEOs are idiots. They can't see that they're idiots, costing themselves money because they don't listen and they don't bring in experts in the field. And it's no wonder why certain holy men, after they disrobe, they're consulting with Fortune 500 companies in teaching compassion, kindness, understanding, deep listening from the top down, so that you fix your system, because your system is not compassionate. It is not understanding. It is not effective, and thus not efficient. So you're wasting more billions of dollars on instead of saving. So guess what? You're not going to strip club.
Keep paying the same amount of money to the same people that aren't able to perform the job functions yet because they haven't been trained in it.
Yep.
So then you take however long, a week, 2 weeks, and you do that over the course of even just 6 months. If you have a revolving door, that's every single week for 6 months that people aren't being productive because they're learning versus teaching people how to be productive, be happy, and do what they want to do within the company and feel valued, feel respected, and feel compensated for what they do as well. That's one thing that my boss, he was talking about. It was another coworker of mine saying, "Oh, I think we should work." And he's super positive. He's always a very positive person. He goes, "I think it would be a better idea if we had Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, and we work 10-hour days." And my boss, that's now in the role that he just took over as of a couple days ago, he said, that works for some people, but for the majority, working 8 hours for 5 days a week is more productive from a business standpoint, because you don't feel overworked, because by the time you get to Thursday, after having already put 30 hours in 3 days instead of 24 hours, he's like, it doesn't seem like a lot, but then you get to work on Thursday and you're like, I got 10 hours of this, and that day is shot.
Yeah.
That whole day is shot, then your production goes down. Doesn't matter. He's like, it works for people that run factories because there is a consistent flow of like machinery that's doing like X amount of work over product, 100 units an hour, just make up a number, 100 units an hour. Doesn't matter if it's 40 hours over 5 days or 40 hours over 4 days, because it's 100 units an hour every hour. So it makes sense to do it that way because people can stand there for a little bit. But when you're in a customer service or a sales position and you deal with people that are just wearing you down, it's like you want to have a couple extra hours to get out, get your break times in, and you get your 15-minute breaks twice a day, you get your hour lunch, you break it up every 2 hours, you're walking away, you're having some time to yourself, you're whatever, smoking a cigarette or going out. Like I go out to the car and I often meditate. Do that, or I call Julia and have a little talk or whatever. But kind of just get away from just the monotony of having the same conversations over and over again. People happy, people unhappy, people happy, people unhappy, whatever the case may be. Finding a resolution, solving the problem, making sure that people are taken care of, because you want to maintain as an A+ rated company like we are. You got to do things right. You can't be a jerk.
Right.
And it's interesting that my boss has kind of like that concept of, well, we need to treat these guys right, because these are the guys that are keeping a roof over our company's head. Especially if you're in a sales position like I am. You're not selling anything. You're not making any money. You're not doing anything. You can't just make money by paying. Ultimately. But you said when you're talking about in your book, you're like Buddhism for like lawyers, whatever.
CEOs, yeah.
Yeah, that's thought Buddhism for salesmen. When you do things right, people are going to be happy about how they've been interacted with, that they know they're making the right decision, that you have pride in what you do, that you stand by your service, and that you're not pulling the wool over their eyes. You're not lying to somebody about something just to make them feel good.
Right.
That's really what's led me to be where I'm at. I'm genuinely content. About 6 months ago, I wasn't. I worked at our company for, at that time, about 3 years, a little more than 3 years. We were going through massive changes. They were doing big layoffs. We were just doing a whole overhaul of the company structuring, and they laid off about half of our company. And I was worried, and then the volume was awful. The content of our customers that we were reaching out to and were poor lead sources. It wasn't good. It wasn't cool. And then literally after we held the retreat in August, it was completely different. And it was like things completely changed for me. I had a different perspective on reality. I had a different mindset going into work. And things completely changed, and I've had the job forever now. It's the longest job I've ever held. I used to only work for a job for a year, and I would decide whether I wanted to continue working there or not after a year. Most of the time, it's not. I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel like I was being valued or respected. Like I worked for Walmart. The worst place I could ever imagine having worked at. I thought it was great when I started. It was the worst, talk about not valuing your employees, overworking them, yelling at them. I mean, they got pulled from doing.
What they want is to force you to accept the working conditions and people. But you see, people who are actually have some form of intelligence realize that this is not for me and I should never be treated this way. For the rest of the people who have a form of intelligence realize that this is not for me and I should never be treated this way. For the rest of the people who are asleep, what the top down wants them to do is that we just leave it. We're not going to fix it. We're not going to bring in a monk to talk about meditation or peace and kind and acceptance and interconnectedness and universality and teamwork and all that. We're not going to bring anybody in and waste any more money. Just treat them the way that it is, and they will be conditioned to accept.
Beat them down into submission.
Right. And then because they need the money, and they will think about the benefits, and they will think about the hourly rates, and they will learn just like the rest of them, because that is the masses of workers, is that they will assimilate like a herd that way. And then they said, yeah, we'll save more money if just a couple goes, and those are the ones that won't fit in. So they're targeting just literally people who can't get out of the box or realize that they're in this box. That's a nice way to put it. Keyword, nice way.
I always felt like I see exactly what you're saying. I mean, because I worked in the front with the produce, and I was great there, and did everything else. I worked in the front with the produce, and I was great there, and did everything I was supposed to do, and then they moved me to the back they cut my pay by 50 cents, whatever, moved me to the back, did harder work, was unloading trucks, busted my butt, and then the guy that was running the back room, he was like literally yell and scream at people, and at that time, I would yell right back. Like, who do you think you are? Definitely had a very, you yell, I yell louder. That was it. I mean, he'd get up in my face. I mean, it was like about to be like a brawl. And I'm like, who do you think you are? You just yell and scream at people. You got people out here that speak all different languages in the back here. You're, whatever. I'm not keep his identity completely a secret, but you're from a different culture, which is okay. But you're yelling at people that don't understand the language, don't understand your accent. And I'm talking about people that are like speak like Spanish, and you're speaking a different language altogether that has no similarity in any way, shape, or form to it. Plus, you have an accent; they don't even understand English. So now you're speaking in a language in English and yelling at them. It doesn't matter what language you speak; they don't understand you. So why are you yelling and screaming at them and stand up for these other folks that couldn't genuinely I was learning Spanish just so I could communicate with them.
Right.
And then he was scream and yell at them and scream and yell at me, and I would scream and yell right back at him. And it was like it was like a boxing match, stare down. Like, it was really, really bad. And I would ride my bike to work. I didn't have a car. I'd ride my bike 10 miles to work every day. Literally, it sounded like an old man. Like, I would ride my bike 10 miles to work every day and back. And it was just brutal. The conditions were awful. It was hot. It was disgusting. It was just morally corrupt. And then I'm the bad guy for yelling back at somebody who's yelling at everybody, standing up for people. Granted, my actions were not justified. There's other ways that we can approach that, and I could have handled it differently. My heart was in the right place. My actions were not.
Right.
But and I'm not justifying when I'm yelling at somebody. That's definitely not the way it should be. But you talk about moral corruption and big corporations beating them down in submission. That's exactly what these places are like.
So the problem is that, you see, human behavior and tendency is, we know anger will proliferate if not left in check. Control will proliferate if not left in check. So basically, an untrained person in position of and power over others, they just let the maras, let the poison, the three poison in Buddhism, proliferate, and that's where you see the toxicity and lack of supreme mindfulness. Because one who is mindful would be mindful of his words, thoughts, and actions. And when you see these people in positions of power, it is very disheartening, the fact that they have this much amount of power and that they just spill and shower poison on people. Spill. It's like, we call that cancer.
Yes.
The lawyers that I work with, they have a very unique way of describing certain people. And they're like, yeah, that's living cancer. A cancer to society is what they called it. And the first time I heard that, I was like, oh. Mind you, the one who said it was a former judge. So he's already observed behaviors and actions, and that's why I think that people will resort to, and the one CEO that I spoke to that was doing spiritual work on himself and was so inspired by spiritual work on himself, he asked me to go and give a talk for his company. That never happened. But the fact that he received some practice, some this, some that, meant that the company was going to suffer a little bit less because he internalized the noble truths. Yeah, it is very, very disheartening. And I think that's why that was part reason why I became a monk, because I already had looked at my professional career. And if you couldn't beat the system, then you need to join another different system.
Yeah.
If you can't beat that type of world, you go and you join another world. We call that the Buddhist world, you know, and then help create a new one. And that's what's happening here. And it's unfortunately a lot. This is why we're the richest country in the world, but yet in the most despair, most violent, most everything that has to do with suffering. We are the number one leading causes and sustained despair and lonely, despair, depressed, anxious nation in the entire planet.
Confused.
Right. And the sooner the CEOs wake up, the sooner some change can start. And it's like, you think we're a little bit overdue? You know? But because they're in power, control, authority, they can choose not to take action and just let everybody else suffer while they still continue to go to the strip clubs. And it's no different with in leaders. And the Buddha have already said, he made one statement about people in positions of power. And he says, if you have power over others, comma, be gentle with them. One sentence nobody lives by. One sentence. Very profound man, right? The Buddha hit it right on the spot. One sentence. Yeah.
Get power over others.
Oh. Very straight to the point, very deep, very philosophical, requires cognitive thinking and some heart, the investment of the heart to stop and rewind one's action. Because if one is in positions of power and one is not gentle over others, you see the amount of despair that they cause, the ripple effects, the karmic effects of it.
It's strange too, because I've worked in places like that where it's been just like so. I mean, I'm talking about it was almost 10 years ago. Well, it's crazy to think that was so long ago, so fresh. Thoughts of it. Work from places where it feels like you're in like a communist dictatorship to like the exact opposite, no better, but like where you can't say something because somebody like you can say something completely genuinely nice, loving and kind, and someone will take it the wrong way because they're so warped in their own head, and then you get in trouble for it.
Right.
And it's like the exact opposite but equally as bad. And it's like, and now where I work at, which I've been at for a good while now, it's like if you're mean, or it's not even mean, if you're spreading negativity, you need to leave. But you can say and you can do what you want. And when you're spreading negativity, it's either being deliberately negative toward another individual, be it a customer or an employee, or you're taking something the wrong way and creating negativity towards that individual. It's like, talk about the middle way. I feel like that's exactly where we're at now with our job. Like, it's like takes this and this and meets it in the middle. And it's interesting though, because like when I had that one conversation with one of my bosses, kind of backtracking a little bit, he was like, I need to meditate. And I'm like, oh.
Let me show you how.
I was like, I got some tips for you. So he opened up to me. He talked about his family, talked about his, my boss family members and stuff. So like, yeah, my dad had a heart attack. I freaked out. I don't know what to do. I didn't know. I have no idea what I'm going to do if I lose him. I'm like, it's never going to be easy, but we need to accept that we don't live forever. Nobody does. I had to learn that under the wrong set of mental circumstances. And things get easier. It's never easy to watch a loved one pass away or to see them struggle or have physical suffering, having a heart attack. And I'm happy that your pops is okay. But take that as a sign. Start to prepare yourself that the time that you have with him is cherished, so valuable, because it's not going to last forever. And when it's gone, you can rejoice in the time that you had with him. Instead of being upset at the fact that he's gone, you're happy that you had that time. That's that old thing from that PBS documentary on Buddhism. It's like you have this class, it's beautiful. when it breaks, you think, oh, great. But if you know that it's already broken, the time you have with the glass, whatever it be, a crystal, is that much more valuable. Like, I think that, and I shared that with him. He's like, oh, just these little things that I pick up. I see you're penetrating in a different way now. Again, it's really, really awesome, you know, working up to one of my other bosses.
Yeah, and again, they came from the same educational system that we came, the public educational system. No one teaches us spirituality, look deep inside, look at our suffering. No one teaches that. Buddhism teaches that. So because they lack that component of education, they have let the three poisons the Buddha have described overrun their life forever, infinite. Some people, some of us monks look at it and we're like, oh, when they change, hell freezes over. That's what we say. You know, and as they solidify that software in their head, it becomes harder to undo. They just compound the hairball. They just compound the tangle. And by the time they reach us, it's very difficult to untangle. Because the ego is just the magnificent ego inside is so huge. It's like King Kong. And we're like little soldiers, little Toy Story soldiers with little cowboy ropes trying to tame it. And it's like literally too late to do anything. Really, and it just carries on to their next life. You know, so that's why some people are born grumpy, just because of residual effects. The karmic residual effects from the previous life carries over to the next lifetime, and that's if you're lucky to take a favorable rebirth round because you've given some form in somewhat to balance out your karma, or else you become a very like an angry dog. That's why you see some dogs are adorable, don't bark, keep to themselves. And you see some dogs are like, you obviously have a stick up your you know what every single living moment of your life. You know what I mean? Because that dog was once human and that dog did not behave right. And that dog died bitter, remained bitter, and will write out additional karmic sentences as that. You know, or monkeys, or you get zebras, you get all sorts of animals that you have observed in the wild that behaves in a very angry, violent manner. And you're like, chill out, dude, chill out, you know? And these are some of the clues that we have in rebirths and karma and karmic effects is, you know, how come they have personalities just like humans? Why do they charge at people? Why are they troublemakers?
And you have some animals that are lions that raised under the right circumstances, of course, also, but they would never attack the human that raised them versus other ones that could be raised under the exact same circumstances that just maul everyone. They have to be kept in an actual cage just for the actual cage, just for the sake of valuing the life of the animal. Gorillas and all that, it's crazy. It's interesting to look at the actions of animals and see how humanistic they really are.
Let me grab a water real quick. Yeah, give me 1 second. Yeah. And again, there's more animals than humans. So clearly, you see the amount of rebirths that took place, right? And it did. Not pretty. No, Bailey, my dog, is I was like, the dog, goes, and the dog's so interesting to watch. Goes over there and just lays down, and her eyes are just like this. She's thinking. She's reflecting. Born with some sad eyes, the cutest face ever, but sad eyes. And you can tell that the dog has regrets in its previous life, and it's thinking about it. Why did I wind up here? Why am I here? Their face tells everything. Just like humans do, when we just lie down, our eyes are constantly moving and reflecting, and it's funny the way how she breathes too. The breath, the eye movements, the head, the hope, the vision, the regrets, the sorrow, and it's no wonder. It's funny because when I first got her, and I was out on the beach chanting, she didn't know what was happening. She literally at one point the camera was where you were, and she like literally did like a front flip in front of the camera as I was chanting, and I opened my eyes and I looked at her and I was like, and she's like, "Oh, sorry." And then pretty soon, every time when I am at public settings and I'm chanting, she would run over to me and just lay like right here, just listened. And I said, I did a video on TikTok saying that animals do in fact have a chance to be liberated if they try hard enough. They can. Same thing with this other cat, one of my students too, named Buttercup, and and the behavior of Buttercup was kind of funny when I was started to give Dhamma talk in the room, and Buttercup was just like music to, was it her or his? Buttercup, was that his or her? His, was it her or his? Buttercup, was that his or her? His ears, like he's guarded all the time. He just comes and just lays like this, and just so relaxed. It was just like literally, it's like as if I brought my violin and just started playing it. So yeah, again, we don't know what we're gonna turn into when we pass away, and it is wise fear. Truly, we don't know, and it would just suck to be a worm trying to like wiggle your way around things, can hear, can know, can see, but you know that you're a worm, just disgusting, and you can't take a shower and you can't do a lot of things. Just the animal that you will be rebirthed into. And I think that's why some of these arahants, previous arahants, are so committed in this path and refuse to go back to the world, refuse to give in to the three poisons in Buddhism, and dedicated to literally the benefits of humanity, no matter how hard it takes, and then no matter how their ego is being, they just keep at it. They give up their old selves. They're at it with the Dhamma practice. They always connect, going back to the basics, instead to solidify their heart and to know and hope that they will take favorable rebirth. And quite frankly, even if you don't take favorable rebirth, you just feel good before you die. Who don't want to feel good before they die, anyways? Versus sitting there and trying to think about material possessions and who you're leaving behind and all that. It's horrendous. So again, Austin and Stephen is after material stability, just after monetary stability, financial stability. And I hope one day that they would wake up and just see that if someone down the line, once everything is fulfilled, what's next? What's next? And I just hope that they enjoy the process along the way. However, hopefully Austin will get into meditation and make it a habit, because he's walking into frontline medical field as a nurse practitioner. That's another world of kind of whoop ass. Steven's walking into CPA, business, and military. I don't know. He's all over the place with his thing. And one day it's going to strike them that I'm not happy. What's going on here? I'm 45 years old. What's going on here? I couldn't tell you how many of those I get. on the phone, midlife crisis on the phone. Truck drivers, nurses, doctors, lawyers, they're just scratching their heads. There's no more meaning right now.
That reminds me, I was listening to Kevin Conroy, who did the voice of Batman in the 90s animated Batman series. I've always been like a huge superhero fan, and I just like the ability of it, putting your life at risk for others to save others to be. Anyway, so I was listening to that voice actor of Batman. He's passed away now. And his name's Kevin Conroy. He was talking about his dad. He was talking about how his dad was just an awful, just abusive type of person, and he spoke with somebody. I can't remember the details, but he spoke with someone, and that someone was like, "This is the only life that you're gonna have to try and make it right with him. Otherwise, you're gonna live a life of regret." Unfortunately, it wasn't about Buddhism, or anything, but you could see the correlations there, and how they're thinking. So he went out of his way, and he would try and take care of his father, even though his father was just abusive and mean and drunk and angry and all these awful things. As Kevin Conroy got older, and his dad was in the hospital, he said he spent the last night with his dad before his dad passed away, and all he could hear his dad say, sitting in the wheelchair, looking out the window. It was raining. It was the night he passed away. Old, decrepit, poisoned his body with alcohol. And he says he looked into his eye, like he could look into his eyes, and his dad wasn't paying attention to him. And he goes, "The great God." He said he saw sadness in his dad's eyes, and he just kept saying, "The great Khan," referring to himself and the last name. And then he died. Died filled with just regret of his life and how he realized that. He said that he took so much from that moment, that the importance of how we live our lives.
One thing about the many funerals that I've been to, when they die pissed off, they remain pissed off during the embalming process. And we monks get there and we chant. I'm looking at their face, and I'm like, "You done messed up. You done messed up your whole life," and it shows. Y'all need to understand where I'm coming from. I don't want people to judge me and be like, "Well, okay, well, obviously, don't invite Gita to our funeral." Oof. What I meant is the responsibility to take action, and the fact that someone has been playing a little too long and a little too hard, neglecting the spiritual path. And therefore, at the moment of death, literally the last state of mind, it is exactly what the Buddha says. If you don't let everything go, you will be stuck with attachment. And literally that is stuck throughout the entire embalming process. You analyze all these funerals that you want to go to or have been, or I have been there, and it shows everything. Now, my friend Jacob, now see, my grandmother looked rough, did not look like a peaceful person, I feel, because of the attachment. She said before she passed away, she says, "I don't want to lose you and your mom." I looked at her and oh no. So she left, and of course she left pissed. We know that because she was trying to fight against the heart attack. She clenched up and like, ah! I was like, oh my God. Oh yeah, it was bad. So of course at the funeral, I was like, all right, somebody's not happy when they left, clearly, with attachment. So we already know she took rebirth, unfavorable, guaranteed rebirth, to a lizard that night. I've already spoken about that. But Jacob died and was ruled accidental. However accidental it was, or at the moment of his death, I don't know. But at the funeral site, I was like, "Are you sleeping, dude? You gonna wake up or what?" That's how peaceful he was. But reflecting on his life was a life of all giving, a life that always thought about other people and besides himself. And it's just how beautiful that was, just to know that fact. And this is the end result of death. Yeah, and you just, again, funerals are very profound if you're trained to look for. And it's too late for us monks to do anything when we get to that point. So all we can see is look at them, have compassion, share the merits. But we realize that you played a little too long and a little too hard. These teachings has been around for 2,566 years old. And what, you didn't knew a Buddha existed? You have never seen them, some of us walking around before? You've never opened up National Geographic magazine? The existence of the media helps to propagate and advertise and market whatever existing philosophy or religion in the world. And yet you failed to look into it. You failed to heed the advice of the wise. You failed to measure, contrast, compare. Yeah, indeed, there's a lot of religions, but it's not that a lot. If you really think about the primary religions, Hindu, Catholic, Christianity, Buddhism, and again, it requires intelligence and thoughtfulness and to say and to see which one has waged more wars than others.
Right.
Why don't you start narrowing down the process of elimination? They showed you that in school.
Yeah.
How many feels peaceful, sounds peaceful, how many relates to you, how many is clinical benefits, how many have people done research. So again, that lack of intelligence, one takes rebirth quickly, samsara quickly, moment to moment, every single day. And again, just watch out for it. Just always look for intelligence. And when you identify that there is none, or there's lack of it, or lack of exercising of wise intelligence, that it does not serve you well. They're a fool. We don't hang out with fools. So again, always look for evidence of staying on the path. And again, notwithstanding our hunchip, notwithstanding all of the other stuff that is too beyond our grasp and understanding, just look at how you're going to die at the moment of death. Eventually we get there gasping and grasping, and it's like, oh, how ticked off do you want to look? Because whatever that snapshot is of you, you take with you. You don't believe one of us? Talk to Dr. Joe Dispenza, talk to all of our leading experts in the field. They'll tell you.
It's true. I never thought of it before, but when my stepfather passed away, I didn't see him. He wasn't. He was cremated. A lot of the people that died in my life have been cremated. My grandfather, my best friend. Never got to see them after passing. All I did see was my uncle, and the differences between using my stepfather as an example is because my mom said that even though he was purple, stopped breathing, he had a smile on his face when he died. And I get that every day.
Yeah.
He died a few days after his birthday. We had a big celebration for him. First birthday party we had for him, probably 20 years or whatever, a long time. And he died happy. And he was a loving man. He was caring. He drank a little bit here or there, but he wasn't an alcoholic or anything. He just enjoyed life. He enjoyed taking care of people. He didn't have to step into a family that already had children and things like that. He loved wholeheartedly, and he was a kind and giving and caring man. And my mom, again, I didn't see him, but my mom said he died with a smile on his face. And then I see my uncle who died from an overdose of I think it was fentanyl or something. But he was shooting up drugs and he died overdose. And I saw him in the casket, and he didn't look angry, but he definitely looked sad. And it's interesting you say that, because I haven't. Most of the people that have passed away in my life, my best friend overdosed and died. He was cremated. His girlfriend overdosed and died. She was cremated. They died together, sadly, tragically. I want to talk about that, but I'll save that for a different time. But
so Dr. Joe Dispenza studies cellular and energy and just the emanating. A lot of scientific, metaphysical, a lot stuff beyond our comprehension. But in summary, of brief, short, and concise, that the energy that we feel out of the, for example, out of the practice of meditation and loving kindness and everything that we do in Buddhism and how we feel about it in the moment and thereafter was a result of harnessing what we were built with and channeling all of the energies in cells and intention and volition for wellness, happiness, contentment, fulfillment, meaning, and purpose in life, and how you carry that on every single day. And you know what I mean? To be good to yourself and be good to other people, and the sustained positive energy, the reinforcement of that every single day, the cultivation of that, the harnessing of that, the perpetual harnessing of output of that alone contributes to one's well-being, look good, feel good, you know, and no matter what happens to you, it is indestructible joy. It's no wonder why I have said, give more, take less. And when you actually do that, and you just start to notice little things about in your life, how you become happier, and then you start to fear death even less because you realize that, okay, well, notice little things about in your life, how you become happier, and then you start to fear death even less because you realize that, okay, well, if this thing stops beating, I would still be happy because of all the things that I have done according to what needs to be done.
That's so true. I was just talking with Julia about that on my way home from work. We talk on the phone sometimes as I drive home, and then I get home and we talk some more.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the phone with her, and I was at the gas station. And I was like, you know what? I really found that because I wanted to get certain things for certain people, just like gifts, just to give them. You know, I didn't really have a chance financially to give everything I wanted to give to people, but I don't have to wait for Christmas or kind of treat somebody like special on Christmas or whatever. It's a time to remember the joy of giving, but I feel like most people don't give regularly, so they feel stressed out at Christmas. I gotta buy this, I gotta buy that, I gotta do this, I'm gonna have the money, I'm gonna pay rent late. And that's understandable to an extent. But like for instance, the reason I'm bringing this up is because I wanted to get certain things. Like I was talking to my boss, the one that just got the position, the promotion, the one that just got the position, the promotion. We were talking about fossils, and he told me he went to this park that had, what do they call it, petrified forest. It's a petrified forest that he went to, and he wanted to get a petrified tree or a piece of one from there, and it's highly illegal to take anything from a national forest. So then I had asked him, I was like, were you able to ever get one? He said he bought one and he lost it on his trip and never found another one. I found one. So I want to get that for him. And I was just talking about the things that I want to get to people that hold really no value other than just like it's cool to have something. Like I gave Julia's stepfather a piece of a mammoth tusk fossil that I found and had been wanting for a long time. So this particular thing I wanted, I finally bought so I could give it to him, so I could let go of the attachment of it, because it was sitting there on the shelf forever at this one store that we go to, and I really, really wanted it. I'm gonna get that one day. It's gonna be mine. It's gonna be sitting in my house. It's gonna be my little trophy. I'm buying that so I can have it and I can look at it and it serves me no purpose.
Oh, you told me you gave it away.
Yeah, so I gave that away.
Yeah, I remember you shared this last week.
Yeah, and then Julia went out and bought me one. So it's like when we give these things away, we feel good about it, and you give things away without any intent to receive anything other than knowing that you brought joy to somebody. And even that, it almost kind of seems like you're doing it for the pleasure of how you're going to feel, but it's not that. It's just it's almost like it's an automatic like result of bringing joy to somebody else, as it fills you with joy to that extent. For me. And so I talk about give more, take less. I realize that, though I've struggled with that in the past, I've always tried to give to those whom I love, not to people that I don't love. And I know it's important to give to everybody, not just to people who are close to me, that I hold a special value, my personal value to these individuals.
Mm.
And I've noticed a return almost tenfold, not necessarily financially or in any way like that, but things seem to get easier when I give, or I keep the precepts, and I don't lie, or I don't do any of that. Like at work, for instance, I have the highest closing percentage in the company. I closed 10% higher than any other representative in my department. I don't have the most sales,
Mm-hmm.
but I have the most value. So I'm bringing something to the table through being genuine and letting go of the greed of, I need more sales, I want more commission, I want this or that. I don't care about any of that. I used to care.
Right.
I don't care at all about commission. I just want to go to work and have fun and help somebody that needs help.
You know, one of my students from Burma, I'm like, do you give more, take less? Yeah, I give, but it's always to the family. So it's the intention is to benefit one's group, one's family, not the universality of connectedness to others.
Right.
And then she was very adamant on this. She's like, I feed the ducks every day, and thought that counted towards huge karmic benefits. And I'm like, you are Burmese. You're sitting here trying to tell me that you're going to overdo all of your karmic debts by feeding ducks. Are you kidding? Are you kidding me?
Burma's really, I don't know if it's still like this, but
Yeah, it's still got stuff going on over there. But
like there's a lot more. If I could, I would, and I'm sure one day I will be able to, but there's a lot more in me than ducks.
no, they're just the lack thoughtfulness and reflection.
Yeah.
My thing about giving more, taking less is I don't need them to give to me. I don't need them to give. I wanted them to experiment what it's like to truly give to strangers charity without expecting anything in return. Do it often and start seeing benefits. Just $1. They'll donate to like St. Jude Cancer Foundation and watch and just test our teachings. We're not asking you for much. We just want you to test the teachings. And once you start seeing benefits, you realize we're not BSing you. You know, just because, again, like I told you on Christmas Day, when I posted across every platform, no book came. It's only the past 2 days that I started to resurface the story again that someone sent $12 because each book was $6. And I'm just like, wow. I don't care. It's at the end of the day, it's their suffering, not mine. It's something they have to bear on their shoulders and weight. But yeah, go ahead and arrange the 5 brothers helping others truck when you die, and you think you're gonna grab a U-Haul behind your hearse. Go ahead. Dump that couch on top of your casket.
Yeah.
That's what your leather Italian couch. Well, you really think that? So, well, 12:34. I think it's an appropriate time to wrap it up.
It's funny you say that. Julia just texted me. Literally, it says now.
Who texted you?
Julia.
Yeah, she's like, when are you gonna come home? Are you there like you always are again? You never want to leave.
She said, hey, baby.
All right, so let's wrap it up.
I cherish this.
And Facebook failed multiple times, so Facebook is not good. Not reliable. Yatha Varivaha Pura Paripurenti Sakaran Evameva Ito Dinam Petanan Upakapati Ichitan Patitan Kamhan Kipameva Samachatu Sabe Purentu Sankapachando Panyaraso Yatha Manicho Diraso Yatha Sapi Tiyo Viwan Jantasa Paro Agawa Vinasatuma Devawan Tuantarayo Suki Yuko Bawa Abiwan Tanasi Lesani Janguta Bajanino Jataro Thamma Watanti Ayuano Sokang Palang Bawatasa Pamankalan Rakantasa Padi Wadasa Pabuta Dufawe Nasarasoti Bawantute Bawatasa Pamankalan Rakantasa Padi Wadasa Patamma Dufawe Nasarasoti Bawantute Bawatasa Pamankalan Rakan dasa badi wadasa basangka nufawe dasadaso ti bawantu te. As we begin the new year with new, fresh intentions, volitions, our view on how we want to conduct ourselves in the days ahead, as we welcome the new year 2023 with new and better intentions, more generous intentions, more intentions directed towards all giving, less selfishness, less about us and more about others. As we have the intention of connecting more with others and establishing trust in the community, in the world at large, so that we contribute to happiness and a sense of connectedness and universality across the world as the whole world now embraces a new year of uncertainty, a new year of unknowns, a new year of hope. Therefore, by and through every individual contribution of change within oneself, change within one's vision, change within one's mentality, nature, standpoint, one's view, all can be achieved by turning your heart, turning yourself towards the teachings of the Buddha and giving it a shot. And that is how you will conquer your world ahead. Quality of life depends on how you see it. Quality of life is how you respond to life effectively, no matter how many wars we have, how many diseases proliferate, how many financial problems our country is facing, how many turmoil, despair around the world. You can remain still, unmoved by things that are good and unmoved by things that are bad, by and through the teachings, training, and practice. It is my encouragement for all of you across the world to heed the advice of the wise, to heed the advice of the Buddhas, to heed the advice of our one and only Gautama Buddha. And may all of you be well, be happy, be free, always be healthy this upcoming year. May you realize the light of your own true nature. May your heart remains open to the world and everyone in it, close, near, far, east, west, north, south. May you exercise your intelligence wisely, and may you achieve what you want intelligently, wisely, compassionately, and kindly towards humanity. To always remember that if you have power over others, to be gentle with them, to always cultivate good karma, and to always be aware that you are the owner of your own karma. And when you die, you will carry that with you. As we reflect on the icons and legends that have died in 2022 alone. Everything we teach is for the betterment of you and the quality of your life, true inner happiness, true inner freedom, true inner liberation. My wishes and the sharing of my merits to you, the sharing of my karmic currency with you, so that we move ahead victoriously, hopeful, and with a sense of togetherness. Sadhu, sadhu. Sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Every time I give a blessing and I do that, it's like recapping what's happening today in case new people were joining. And it's always good to always set that type of intention. So, yeah, the leaders thing. You tell them, Venerable. You tell them. You get them to do it.
Give more, take less.
That's right.